Good evening, boxing fans, and welcome back. Am I the only one who imagines what it might have been like if former WBA heavyweight champion Nikolai Valuev sang his very own ring entrance theme song?
I'm Sugar Nikolai Valuev. I'm Sugar Nikolai Valuev. I'm strong to the finish, yet I eat no spinach. I'm Sugar Nikolai Valuev. My chest is hairy, I'm taller than Larry, and I would fuck up Valuev. Ruiz is sweaty, but I'm no fast Eddie. I'm Sugar Nikolai Valuev. And they said that Pacquiao's on the roid, and Farley said void is void. I'm faster than Mosley, and I would smash Rosie. I'm Sugar Nikolai Valuev. I'm Sugar Nikolai Valuev. I'm Sugar Nikolai Valuev. I'm strong to the finish, yet I am not finished. I'm Sugar Nikolai Valuev.
This is Rummy's Corner.
That's all I can stand. I can't stand no more.
When I first heard about the fight between Tyson Fury and Wladimir Klitschko, originally scheduled, I think it was for October 24th, the first thing that jumped into my mind was during the brief period when Emanuel trained Tyson Fury. He once said something to the effect that Lennox was his former great heavyweight champion, Wladimir was his current great heavyweight champion, and that maybe someday Tyson Fury would be his future great heavyweight champion. And the one thing I remember Emanuel, he was big on Fury both before and after he trained him. But I remember the one thing he said that stuck with me leading up to the first fight with Derek Chisora was that Tyson Fury had unbelievable determination. And at the time I didn't really think much of Fury, but going into that fight, Emanuel was one of the few people picking Fury to beat Chisora. At the time, Chisora was highly rated. I think that was around the time he may have been scheduled to face Wladimir before Wladimir wound up fighting David Haye. In any case, the fact that all these years later, that was 2011, I believe, that first Chisora match, and the fact that we're here today, late 2015, that Fury is still undefeated makes me think that maybe there's something to that determination. And make no mistake, Vlad didn't look particularly good his last time out against Jennings. I personally think that's a combination of Jennings maybe being a little better than we thought, and also a combination of the fact that Vlad is 40 years old, or nearly 40 years old. He'll be 40 in March. He's 39 years old. So Tyson, being the young fighter that he is, with that type of determination, which I do believe largely carried him this far since then, I think it makes him a live dog, and I think that makes this a very interesting matchup. And if you remember, back when Emanuel was training Lennox Lewis, he always told him the future guy, the guy out there for you to worry about as you get older in your championship reign in the foreseeable future is Wladimir Klitschko, years prior to Emanuel training Wladimir and the two of them teaming up together. Not that Emanuel was pegging Tyson Fury is the same type of threat to Wladimir as Wladimir had previously posed to Lennox, but I think there's an interesting connection there nonetheless. In my opinion, Tyson Fury has improved a great deal since 2011. He utilizes his jab much better and has an ability to fight tall for long stretches of the fight where he can take control of the action with his jab. He has deceptive quickness, all around deceptive quickness. He has pretty quick feet, he moves around quicker than you might think, and once he gets his hands going, he throws faster than you might anticipate from a guy of his size. So Fury has good control of the ring. The two areas for me that I see the biggest weaknesses in Fury is that sometimes he has a tendency to drop his hands. I don't expect him to do that often against Wladimir, or I wouldn't think he was, but he has a tendency to do it, maybe get a little lazy in stretches of certain fights. But the other thing he does is, as good as he is at controlling a fight with his jab at times, he does have a tendency to not fight tall. He likes to fight, it's almost as if he has the mentality of a smaller fighter at times. And he likes to get in close and mix it up in good quarters. Now, the good news is he has success doing this. He's a pretty good inside fighter. And Wladimir is known to employ tactics whereby he clinches opponents when he gets in close with them, and if anybody gets within punching range and Vlad doesn't like the distance that's been closed, Vlad will outmuscle usually what winds up being smaller opponents. Ironically, against taller opponents, I think Vlad has a much easier time to find the mark, but we'll get back to that in a bit. Bottom line here, I think that if Fury can keep things on close to even terms with his jab in a battle of jabs with Wladimir, and if he could outmuscle Vlad when they are in close quarters and maybe get off some punches, I do think that this is an interesting matchup where Tyson Fury could have some success, and I guess, I'd be surprised, but in a perfect storm type of scenario, maybe he is the guy to dethrone Klitschko. I don't think it's the craziest idea out there, and for me personally, this is one of the most interesting fights, the most interesting matchups that I've seen Wladimir involved with, probably dating back to David Haye, but I was never particularly interested in that one in the first place because I never really thought Haye had any chance against Wladimir. But Vladimir's just a class above Tyson Fury, and even at this age, against a taller opponent, I really don't think that Fury is gonna be able to jab on even terms with Wladimir. And I think even if Tyson Fury has long stretches where he's controlling the fight and doing well with his jabs, and if he does outmuscle Vlad, I think it's a matter of time before the superior tactician, which is Wladimir Klitschko, make no mistake about that. I think it's only a matter of time before he finds an opening, and I just can't help getting the vision of Fury being dropped by Cunningham out of my head. And even if Fury is doing everything right against Klitschko, Klitschko usually doesn't have much trouble finding the mark on taller opponents. If Cunningham's a really good fighter. He's an outstanding fighter actually, but he's not a heavyweight in my mind. He is a cruiserweight. He nailed Fury with that shot. Vlad's gonna find openings. Vlad's gonna land on the mark. And if Cunningham, even with impeccable timing on that shot, can find the mark on Fury, I have no doubt that Wladimir will find the mark, probably early. And if Fury could take his shot fairly well, then I think we'll see it early and often. But before I make my official prediction, no Klitschko-Fury preview could be complete without bringing up the distinct possibility that each man may wind up stopping himself with an uppercut. For my official prediction though, well, I think Tyson Fury brings a lot of intangibles to the table that could make this fight interesting, and maybe potentially it could even wind up being a great fight, who knows. I just think Vlad is too skilled, too strong, and too smart. And I think eventually experience and superior pedigree will win the day against youth and determination. For my official pick, I like Wladimir Klitschko TKO 6 over Tyson Fury. And before I go, I would just like to give a quick shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, Boxed Ears from the ESB forums, boxingforum24.com, for help with this episode. Guys, this is Rumsfeld. Thank you for tuning in. Please stay tuned for more episodes in the future, and if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to my channel.
Oh, Rosie, we gonna have fun tonight. Oh, 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 oh. Ah!